What's up, guys? It's Baller Life, and I'm back with another video. I know it's been a minute, but I'm back, and today I'm gonna be talking about 5 of the most underrated players in the NBA. Now, I know there's actually a lot of players in the NBA that people would consider underrated, but this is my list. So these are people that most people haven't even heard of, and my dad's an NBA fan, so when I talk to him, he hasn't even heard of some of these people, and I have to explain, I have to show him highlights. He's like, "Oh yeah, that guy's nice." So these are 5 of the most underrated players. I'm going to go ahead and give some honorable mentions in a second when I start it. So honestly, this isn't really in any particular order. These are just underrated players for every team. So let's go ahead and get into number 5. So at number 5 on this list, I have Dante Vincenzo of the Milwaukee Bucks, and he's currently a great rotation piece for them, as they were the best defense in the league and a top 10 offense as well. He is just a great rotation piece for them. And I remember watching him in the Villanova championship game on his last year. He was actually the 6th man on that team. And I remember him taking over that one game in the championship game. There's another person on this list who was also in that game, spoiler alert. But I remember him taking over that game, and that boosted him up all the way up to the lottery in the draft. And I remember them taking him. And I kind of kept tabs on him. I kind of watched him. He spent a lot of time last year in the G League, and he got better. And this year, he really came out of the gate, and he's really improved. He's averaging around 10 points, a few rebounds, 2.5 steals, or 2.5 rebounds. But more importantly, he's averaging 1.5 steals. And he's just been a really good defender for them in their rotation. And with the Milwaukee Bucks system of surrounding Giannis with just shooters, Dante Vincenzo has just been one of those rotation shooters. But not only that, but he's been able to do a little bit of stuff off the dribble. He's got some nice moves that he goes to. But he's just emerged as a nice shooter. And I know he's only shooting around league average at around 35.5%. But he just helped them on both sides of the ball. And like I said, he's just gotten better. And so he's one of those underrated players. If you watch him, you can really enjoy his highlights if you watch the Milwaukee Bucks. So I really think that he's going to be one of those X factors when the NBA comes back. So anyway, let's go ahead and get on to number 4. Alright guys, so at number 4, like I said before, this isn't really a list in order of the best underrated players. I mean, it's just a list of what I have as one of the most underrated players in the NBA. So at number 4, I got Seth Curry. Yes, not Steph. Seth Curry. I remember watching him back in 2016, 2017 start to really break out for that Dallas team, and he was averaging around what he's averaging now. So that's a good sign. And then he broke his leg. He actually sat out a whole year. He didn't play in the 2017-2018 season. Then he signed a minimum with Portland last year and helped them make the. He was a nice rotation piece, helped them make the playoffs in the Western Conference Finals. Then he signed a contract with the Dallas Mavericks again this year, and he's been one of the best players off the bench this season. He's a really good shooter and has technically had the best three-point percentage in league history. And he's really just leading an amazing second unit that even makes Luka Doncic's plus-minus look bad. Him, DeLon Wright, and Tim Hardaway Jr. is just one of the best bench units. He scored 37 points in the game against my Miami Heat. We still won that game though. He averaging around 12.5 points, and he's shooting around 45% from 3, so on 5 a game. So he's kind of like his brother, being a really good sharpshooter, and he's going to really have a nice career, and he's just been one of those underrated players I've really just been watching, and you just got to watch him to appreciate him. Anyway, let's go ahead and get on to number 3. So at number 3 on this list, I have current Dallas Mavericks player as well, but also a former Villanova teammate of Dante Vincenzo, Jalen Brunson. Another guard who plays for the Mavericks. We got back-to-back guards because the Dallas Mavericks bench unit is literally completely underrated and incredible, and is why they're in the playoffs and they have the best offense in the league. But Jalen Brunson, I remember him playing throughout his college season at Villanova, especially in March Madness during the tournament. He kind of folded in that championship game, and therefore he went later in the draft. And Dante Vincenzo had that great game and went up in the draft. Dallas picked him up. I knew he was going to be a solid player in the NBA. He had a solid rookie season, putting up around almost 10 points a game, good efficiency, around 3 assists. And he's just been a nice player really ever since. He's putting up around 8 points and 3.5 assists. He's a great playmaker, a good finisher, a nice shooter who can do some stuff off the dribble, run some nice pick and rolls for you. Just play hard out there. And he's just been a nice piece for Dallas, and he's going to have a nice career. And he's still young. He's still only 21 years old, so he's just nice. And Dallas has really got a bright future with him and Luka, KP, Seth Curry, just all these other players they got. Anyway, let's go ahead and get on to number 2. Alright guys, so at number 2, I have someone that's not really underrated because he kind of broke out last year, and that is Spencer Dinwiddie of the Brooklyn Nets. And he kind of broke out last year with that really fun Brooklyn Nets team that had D'Angelo Russell and Jared Allen started to break out, and they went to the playoffs. And they had Jared Dudley, and that whole Ben Simmons thing I think is hilarious, and I'll never forget that. But this year, he's really had to step up. This year, as Kyrie and KD have both been out, and Kyrie especially more so has been out, and they've had to deal with a lot of dysfunction in the locker room, losing a good coach in Kenny Atkinson, and then all the stuff that Kyrie is saying, just leading that team to the playoffs in the 7th seed is just really incredible. And while he's averaging around 21 points and around 7 assists, and he's not doing it on the greatest efficiency, he's still a good positive player for the Brooklyn Nets, and they wouldn't be in the playoffs without him. And so, he's just a good shooter, a great playmaker, one of just the heart and soul of the Brooklyn Nets right now. And when they return, he's going to be like the only scorer, since Kyrie doesn't want the NBA to return. Him and KD both aren't going to return this year, which is really weird. I kind of thought they were, but anyway, the whole season's just been weird, and for Spencer Dinwiddie to just have a good year and lead them to the playoffs has just been really remarkable. And so he's just been one of those nice pieces. I think he can be a nice bench piece on another team. If I saw he had that whole thing with his the whole support donations thing, so I don't know what happened with that, but anyway, he's just a nice piece. Anyway, let's go ahead and get on to number 1 on this list. Alright guys, so at number 1 on this list, I have Bogdan Bogdanovich of the Utah Jazz. Like, the second somebody says underrated, this is literally like the first person I think of, especially this season, as he's putting up around 21 points, and he does a little bit of everything, and he's a great shooter for this Utah Jazz team that really needed his offense. And I remember when they signed him, I was thinking, okay, this is a good signing, he's a good shooter, but this year he's taking his shooting to really another level, as he's shooting around 41.5% on around almost 7.5 threes a game. And like I said, he does a little bit of everything. He does a little bit of playmaking, he can rebound for you, and he can come off of screens for this Utah Jazz team that really needed offense, as they got Gobert down there, as he's obviously one of the best defenders in the league, and Mitchell around him. They got great defense, but their offense is really lacking, as Mitchell's the only offensive player. So bringing in Bojan and then Mike Conley starting to get back. So this Utah Jazz team, if they can figure it all out, I think they're really dangerous, especially coming back into the playoffs if everyone's healthy. And like I said, if Mike Conley's shooting threes well, and he's doing what Mike Conley always does every year, then this team could just be really scary. And Bojan's just been a part of that, and really has helped this team just to get further than they have before, and has helped Mitchell just be able to shoot even better than he has every other year of his career. So anyway guys, those are 5 of the most underrated players that I think are in the NBA right now. Of course, I can do a list with more underrated players, since there's tons of them in the league, almost for like every team. So if you guys want to see that, just let me know. I might do a part 2. Anyway, you guys stay safe, make sure y'all wash your hands, and peace.